I am finally updating and releasing my completely free player profile for The War Within. We sort of soft launched this player profile at the end of Dragonflight in Season 4, and 400,000 of you guys checked this player profile out, and you all seem to absolutely love it. So for every season going forward in World of Warcraft, I will be updating this profile, iterating on it, and just making it better for you guys, and that is what we have done with The War Within. So if you guys do want to get your hands on this player profile, then you can find it inside my Discord. It'll be the first link in the description. And if you guys do want to support me for making this free player profile, then please feel free to subscribe. There was one kind of big mistake. We had never really done anything like this before. So there was one kind of big mistake that we made with the Dragonflight release. So what we did is we didn't really think. We kind of just went with whatever text and font and also plater texture we wanted to use, but it turned out those were actually tied to different add-ons. This is something that I do not want with my player profile at all. I don't want any barriers to entry. I don't want any paywall. I don't want any other external add-ons needed for my player profile to work. So we have changed that coming into The War Within. It's a very, very slight change, and to be honest, if I hadn't said anything, you guys probably wouldn't have even noticed, but we have changed it slightly. So now whatever add-ons you guys do or don't use, you will be able to have your player profile look exactly like mine does on the screen right now. But basically, one of the main aims with this player profile was to make the nameplates look as clean and crisp as possible. So one of the main ways that we did this was actually removing, there are so many unnecessary debuffs that you do not need to see on nameplates that just completely clog them up, makes them look so much less cleaner than they should be. And even in terms of performance, classes that are trying to apply dots all the time will struggle because there will be so many dots that they have to sift through. If they're not using weak auras, or even if you're just mass applying dots to a pack, it's so hard to sift through all of those unnecessary debuffs. So we wanted to get rid of them and just provide a clean looking plates profile for you guys. So on this tab in the plates profile, we do have a list of every single debuff that we have removed so that they are going to look cleaner. Good examples of this to show you guys that maybe don't understand what I'm talking about is the Chaos Brand debuff for Demon Hunters. That is not going to impact the way you play the game at all on your Demon Hunter. It is a purely passive application that you're going to naturally apply to absolutely everything anyway. So there is just no gameplay interaction here. So you get rid of that. And then, for example, on the Demon Hunter, you might be able to see your Soul Scar debuff easier so that you can apply or throw glaives at different targets so that your Soul Rend will apply to them instead, and you don't have to sift through these other unnecessary debuffs. To add to this cleaner look as well, in the buff special tab, we have added every single CC or crowd control to the buff special tab, which will be shown on the right side of the nameplate. This is going to keep everything together. For whatever reason, Blizzard haven't actually added all of the crowd control to work together. As you can see down here with the crowd control we have ticked. So it should by default show all of them, but a lot of these that are listed in here don't actually show, so we've had to manually add them because we just want to make it easy. So if you guys want to look at the mob to see if it's been CC'd or not, what kind of CC it's got on it, you know exactly where to look. You don't have to worry about looking at the top left of the nameplate. You're always going to be looking on that right side of the nameplate. So that was a big goal of ours. We just wanted these nameplates to look as clean as possible while keeping it super minimalistic, because I just like that kind of vibe anyway. And to be honest, I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. I think the plater and nameplates are looking great. And then the next big thing that makes this plater profile so important for all types of content in The War Within is the color coding. So at the end of Season 4 for Dragonflight, we color coded every single mob in Mythic Plus. We only used 3 colors for that, and we'll get into that in a second. And we've done exactly the same for The War Within, but we are also, little secret here, we are also covering delves and raids. So in your delves, you're going to see which mobs that you need to be kicking. Same goes for raids, same with the priority mobs, and same with the stop mobs. So every piece of challenging content in The War Within is going to be color coded. So it's just so much easier for you guys to understand exactly how you should be interacting with that mob. To start with the color coding then, we are using a Warlock purple color to highlight any priority mobs. So these mobs, as you can see on screen right now, are the kind of mobs that maybe they have a much bigger health pool than the rest of the group, or maybe they are just a much scarier mob in general that you maybe can't kick to stop their outgoing damage, so they need to die quickly so that your group doesn't die. So whenever you see a Warlock purple mob, you always want to be focusing that mob and dealing all of your main damage into that mob to get rid of it ASAP. There is one thing to note with these Warlock purple priority mobs is that they can also sometimes have scary kicks. There's no simple way to do this. So what we've done, and the idea here is, the priority mob that you are focusing can have a scary kick, which would normally be color coded a different color. But because you're focusing it anyway, you're going to see the scary cast go off, and we have highlights inside of the cast bar to notify you when that is going to be a scary kick. Otherwise, every other mob that you need to kick is color coded in a fuchsia pink. So these mobs don't necessarily have a scary kick themselves. A lot of them will, but these mobs in general are just mobs that you should be kicking. So to link back to the priority mobs that I was talking about earlier with the scary kicks, whenever there is a scary kick that is going to go off, the cast bar of that particular mob will grow, flash, and glow orange so that you know that you must kick this ability. If you don't, something bad is going to happen in higher keys. You're definitely going to wipe from this ability, or it's going to put your group in a world of hurt. So you need to stop any casts that are going through that are orange. I do also have a script. We'll get into the scripts and deep dive into those later, but there is a script that will highlight the border of the cast bar with a green glow if your kick is available. So it means that you don't have to look at your action bars, your weak horse to see if your kick is up. When you're looking at the enemy's cast bar and seeing this scary kick, or even if it's not a scary kick, you will see the green outline border and it will tell you if your kick is available. If it's not available, there will be no border. And if your kick is going to come up before the cast goes through, then it will have a spark or a little line on the cast bar that shows you exactly when your kick is going to come up inside of that cast. And then once it's past that line, the green border will return, and that means that you are now safe to kick because your kick is now available again. And then the third color, we are going to be using a cyan blue to notify you of any stop mobs. So these are mobs that cannot be kicked. Maybe they still might have a kick. The important thing with them is you're going to need to stop them with hard crowd control. So this is going to be anything like stuns, disorients, knockbacks, but not kicks, okay? And when this cast is going off that you specifically need to stop, there will be a small little stop icon inside that cast bar to notify you that you should be stopping this ability. So to give you guys a quick example of this, for these type of mobs, you want to be using an ability like a Hammer of Justice to make sure that the mob is stunned so that it stops its cast. We wanted to keep the color coding relatively simple, so we've got 3 main colors for the nameplates. That is all you need to remember and all you need to focus on. We didn't want to overwhelm you guys with multiple different colors for priority mobs that also have a kick as another color, maybe a frontal mob has another color, etc, etc. So it keeps it very easy for you guys to learn. And for those of you that might be worried about threat, I'm here to tell you, do not worry, okay? We've got a mod that I'll go over later, which will completely override the color coding that I've done if you do suffer with any aggro issues. But the basic premise of how I've color coded the threat on this player profile is that regardless of your role, green means you've got the right kind of aggro dependent on your role, and red will always mean you've got the wrong type of aggro dependent on your role. So, for example, if you're on a tank and you've got aggro, the mob's not color coded, the mob will stay green because you've got aggro on it. If you've lost aggro on that mob, it will then turn red. Even if this mob is color coded in a warlock purple, let's say it's a priority mob, if you lose aggro on that mob, then the mod that I'll talk about later will override the color coding that I've done, and it will make the nameplate red so that you know that you have to taunt that mob to get it back. Just to quickly touch on the other side of this, if you're a healer or a DPS, if you don't have aggro on the mob and the mob is not color coded, then the mob's nameplate will be green, showing you that you have no aggro on the mob. If you get aggro of the mob, it's going to be red. And again, the red will override any color coding that I've personally done. So the main use of this color coding is obviously going to be utilized in Mythic Plus. This is such a helpful addition to helping you guys know exactly what you need to do with each mob as you enter every single pack in the dungeon. But like we said, we have done this for delves. With the delves, bear with us, we might need to update it as we go. I'm not so sure on how it works. Maybe the delves change mobs slightly from week to week, maybe in the different difficulties as well. Maybe we'll see new additions of mobs, but we'll always keep it updated for you guys. And quickly, just to touch on raid again, we will have color-coded mobs for raid. It's not going to be as relevant because for the most part, it's kind of just like focus one boss. But if there's ads that you need to kick, they'll be color-coded in fuchsia pink. If there's mobs that you need to stop that are spawned from the bosses, then they'll be colored cyan. And to go along with all of this, just before Season 1 of The War Within drops, I will be releasing a cheat sheet exactly like I did for Season 4 of Dragonflight that will be perfectly color-coded to match my player's profile in game, and that will give you a quick breakdown and summary of what every single mob does that you need to worry about. So keep an eye out for that, as well as my dungeon guides on YouTube, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss those. So those are the core features of this plater profile and what inspired me to kind of make it in the first place. Now let's move on to some of the scripts and mods that we've added. We tried again to keep it simple and not overwhelming. We don't want loads of unnecessary scripts and mods. We want to keep it clean, but let's run over some of them now. As there's not many scripts and mods, I'm going to run through each one. Some might take a little bit longer than others, but I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of every single script and mod that we're using. And also, if you don't like any of these scripts or mods, then you can simply just untick and disable or enable these scripts and mods as and when you need them. So fixate by unit, this is just going to highlight to you guys when you're being fixated. A good example of this is morbid fixation in the necrotic wake. Health markers might be a little bit of an irrelevant script inside season 1, because there's not any mobs like the dragons inside Ruby Life Pools from Dragonflight, where upon reaching 50% they would start pulsing AoE damage. This is what this script is going to be used for. This right here, important kicks, is one of the most important scripts we're going to be using. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. This is the script that makes the cast bar of the mob, of the kick mob, flash, grow, and glow orange, as well as have some ants run around the outside of the cast bar, so you know that that is a scary cast that you must kick. Again, with these and also with the important stops that we'll cover next, you can just go into here and remove any of these casts that you want to if you don't think of them as a scary kick yourself. And also, if you do want to add any scary kicks that maybe we've missed, I highly doubt we've missed any, but if we have, then you can simply type the spell ID or the spell name, but preferably the spell ID, into this box here, and then click add, and that will add it to the bottom of this list. So to go with the important kicks, we also have the important stops. So all of these abilities right here will show a stop icon inside the cast bar. And these are the abilities that you need to stop with a stun, a disorient, any of the hard crowd control in the game. Some mobs might be immune to knockbacks, but they might not be immune to stuns. So you want to use stuns in that scenario. But that is exactly what you should be doing when you see this stop icon in the bar of the cast bar of the mob. Invalidate unit is something new that we've added for the War Within, and it's actually very relevant in Season 1. So for example, second boss in Mist of Turner Scythe, you have Mistcaller. When she goes into the guessing game phase where you've got to find the odd one out, she will then become pretty much invulnerable to damage there, which makes it completely pointless to ever be attacking her in that situation. What this script is going to do is grey out her nameplate so you know that she is a completely irrelevant mob at that time, except for the tank because they need to kick her. But other examples would include Ingram Malloc, first boss of Mist, and also Surgeon Stitchflesh in the Necrotic Wake. Here we have a pandemic flash script. So basically what this is going to do is we wanted to keep it clean and simple and minimalistic again. I didn't want this ugly big glow on my screen when my dots are falling off, but this is going to notify you when your important dots are falling off. It's only going to start flashing the dot if it is an important dot that you must maintain, for example, a Vampiric Touch from a Shadow Priest. But as the dot is going to wear off, the duration text will change color from the default color to then go to a yellow color and then a red color when it's really about to fall off. At the same time, as soon as it goes yellow, the dot will start flashing on your screen on the nameplate, so you know that that is when you need to reapply these dots. Shield Interrupt is a script that's going to highlight to you if there's a cast like Consumption from the last boss of Mist of Turner Scythe. When they have a shielded cast that you need to break through with damage to then be able to kick, this script is going to perfectly highlight when you are able to kick the mob, because you obviously don't want to be kicking it when it's shielded. Buff and debuff alert, I've kept these just in case you guys do want to end up using these. I don't personally use them. I think they're a little bit ugly, but if there's an important buff like the Ancient Power from the Refties in Older Man, this will quite clearly show on their nameplate on the right hand side that they have this buff. So if there's any super important buffs that you guys do want to make note of and be aware if the mob does have, then just simply add the spell ID into here and click add, and also make sure you obviously enable the buff alert or the debuff alert. That being said though, with the buff special, down here we do have enrages and dispellable buffs ticked so that they will show on the right side of the nameplate along with where the CC will show. So if there is any buffs that you can interact with and get rid of, for example with a soothe or even with a magic dispel, then they will show on the right side and you will be able to quite clearly see that the mob is buffed with that ability. So that is scripting done. Now let's move on to modding. Buff special mod is kind of irrelevant. It's just it's for aesthetics purposes. It just makes the buffs look cleaner on the buff special. Cast bar border, same sort of thing. On the cast bar, it adds a very small black border to it just to keep it looking crisp and clean. Cast target on spell name. So any targeted ability by a mob on their cast bar, it will show the target of that ability right next to the spell inside the cast bar. So you know exactly who it's on. If you see multiple casts on you, then right, I need to use a defensive here or I'm going to die. So it's very, very important and handy to have this active. Dot reorder is something that I'm working on. I've done a lot of it so far, but there is still dots that I need to add and add weights to, because basically what this does is keeps your dots in the same place on top of the nameplate at all times, irrelevant of duration. So you know, as a Shadow Priest, I know exactly that I will always be looking at the top left to see my Vampiric Touch timer, and I will be looking one to the right to always see my Shadow Word Pain timer. Then to the right of that, it will be Devouring Plague. Again, if you guys would rather see the dots listed in order of their duration left, for example, or however Blizzard does it by default, then just simply disable this, or you can even right click it and click remove to get rid of it if it's causing you any other issues. It won't, but if you're playing on a toaster, then who knows. Force threat color. So this is very important here. With the color coding that we have for the priority mobs, the kick mobs, the stop mobs, that for the most part is going to override threat, because that is the most important part. But if you do have any threat issues, regardless of what role you're on, so for example, if you're on a tank and you lose aggro, this right here is going to override the color coding that I've done with the priority mobs, the kick mobs, stop mobs, and it's going to go back to the default threat colors, so you know as a tank you're losing aggro on that mob and you need to taunt it back. If you're a DPS, it just works in the same sort of way. So if you're gaining aggro as a DPS, then it's going to remove the kick color from it and it's going to start showing a red nameplate. Because red with my player profile always means that you have the wrong threat regardless of your role. If you're a tank and you've got aggro, the nameplate will be green as long as it's not color coded. If you've lost aggro, it will show red and override the color coding. If you're DPS or healer, if you don't have aggro, the nameplate is going to be green of the mob as long as it's not color coded. And if you're gaining aggro, it's going to turn red. Red is bad, and that's going to override the color coding that I've done and show you that you have aggro and you need to get away from the mob. So this is arguably maybe the coolest thing we've added, and this is what I was talking about earlier. This is all referencing to the kicks on the mobs. So basically this is going to outline the cast bar border with a green border. So whenever you see a green border on the outside of the cast bar, you know that your kick is available and you can use it. I've already mentioned this, but for people that might have just skipped to this, I'm going to cover this mod fully in depth right here. So if you've kicked, a few casts have gone through and your kick is coming off of cooldown, the mob starts its cast, and your kick is going to come up during that cast, then the cast bar is going to have a blue border on it, and it's also going to have a line inside the cast bar at exactly what point your kick is going to be available again. And then as soon as it passes that point, the border will become green again, showing you that you are now available to kick because your kick has come back up. This is a super, super handy mod, and it's definitely something I'm going to be using. I'm so glad that we were able to do it this way, because in Dragonflight, I had it disabled by default, because what it would do is it would make the whole cast bar green if your kick was available, completely overriding, for example, the scary kick color, so you wouldn't know that it was a scary kick. You would just see that your kick is available. So doing it this way, you're going to see the cast bar grow, glow, and flash orange, but it's also going to have a green outline so that you know that you can kick that scary cast. N+3 namer speaks for itself. I'm not sure why, but in Necrotic Wake, all of the names on the actual nameplates themselves seem to be different to what the mob is actually called. I don't know if it's like a language thing. I'll look into getting that sorted out, because, for example, the first boss, Blightbone, has Shankross. Not sure why it does that, but this is the only dungeon that does it. I guess it's just whoever made this mod did it this way. I will look into getting that fixed and hopefully make it English for you guys. Last up, the last mod that we are using is priority-based scaling. What this basically does is any mobs, any smally mobs that are kind of completely irrelevant and just padded trash that you do extra damage on, the kind of mobs that you wouldn't waste time applying dots to individually, these mobs are going to have a slightly reduced nameplate in size. This by nature just makes every other nameplate more important just subconsciously for you. You don't have all the clutter on your screen as much from the less important smallies that have been reduced in size with this priority-based scaling mod. So all of your focus can be on the mobs that actually matter. I really didn't want to overdo it with this mod at all, so as you can see even here at the start of Necrotic Wake, these soldiers are still a normal sized nameplate because they explode upon death. They are kind of still a scary mob, and they do actually live a lot longer. But a good example of this mod in action would be at the end of Mist of Turner Scythe. You have all the Spine Maw lava around the Acid Gullets, and those mobs, the Staghorns as well, those mobs are pretty much just purely padded trash. They don't do anything. I wouldn't personally waste my time on dotting them. So we've just reduced their nameplates in size, and those types of mobs are the only ones that we've done this for. Again, with any of these mods and any of these scripts, if you don't like them, simply untick the box here and even remove them if you don't want the extra clutter inside your modding or scripting tab. So that is every feature of the Plates profile covered. I'm sure that in the coming seasons and as I continue to update this profile, there will be added scripts, maybe mods, or maybe we'll just keep it how it is. If you guys are loving this, which you guys seem to absolutely love it in Dragonflight, and we've only made it better since, so hopefully that's the case, but I will be updating this for every single season. So let's talk about how to install the Plates profile then. Inside my Discord, inside the Plater channel, will tell you everything you need to know about installing this Plater profile. So just simply follow the steps in there, and I promise you'll be completely fine. And if you're not, then you're already in the Discord at that point, so you can just ask any questions. We have dedicated feedback questions and even just ask questions in the general channel, okay? And anyone that knows in the Discord will be more than happy to help you guys. But once you have the text string from the Wago site, then all you simply need to do is type in /plater, then you come to profiles, import profile here, copy and paste the text string in. Ignore all of this, especially if you already have my Plates profile. You can ignore all of this, call it what you want, maybe Vesp TV, The War Within, and then click OK. What will then happen, I don't know if it's going to do it for me, it will then reload, or you might have to click yes. There will be a little pop-up that comes up here, and you just click yes to reload, and then that will load you into my Plates profile, and from here, you're good. If you want to mess around with any of the scripts or mods, then feel free to do so, but now you are ready to rock and roll. So Vesp, you've done a great job with removing all the unnecessary debuffs or buffs, but there is one buff in specific that I do want to add or delete. All you need to do with that is if you want to re-enable a dot or a debuff on the nameplate that I've deleted in my default Plates profile, it will be listed inside this window right here. Let me move that over so you guys can see. And you'll just come in here. For example, if I want to see Frailty on my Demon Hunter, literally just click the X and then it will reappear on the nameplate. If you see a debuff that you don't want on the nameplate that I haven't already removed, which I highly doubt there will be any, then just simply come in here. You can type in the name of the debuff. For example, let's think maybe an embedded Arcane Splinter for Spellslinger on the Arcane Mage, which I'm on right now. And then you just literally click by name, and that'll add it in here. And then if at a later date you realize you want it, again, just remove it. What I would recommend with this though is try and find the spell ID of the debuff on the target, and then you would click by ID instead of by name, because that will guarantee that that is the exact debuff that you are removing. Sometimes, for example, as you can see here, look how many different Disintegrate IDs there are, but what I've done is just removed all of the Disintegrate IDs. The exact same goes for buffs. If a mob puts a buff on itself that you do not want to see, or maybe there's a buff that I've removed like Dying Breath, which I think is kind of irrelevant, that you don't need to see, but you want to see it. If you want to see stuff like this, remove it from this list and it will re-add it back to the nameplate. If there's a buff that the mob is putting up and it's already on the nameplate and you don't want to see it, come to here, type in the spell ID or the name, click by name or by ID, and that will add it to this box. And I've just realized that over here, Bolster is still here, so we can get rid of that. I don't think I need to explain too much more, but exactly the same goes for these boxes over here. If there's additional debuffs that aren't tracking for whatever reason, then you can add it to this box right here. And then the exact same goes for the buffs. And you just use the corresponding box on this left side of the Plater window and click by name or by ID, and you're good to go. Vesp, I want to add another dot that flashes when it's in its pandemic window so that I know when to reapply it. Simple. Come to the scripting tab, come down to the pandemic flash. This is what controls this. And then click on it, come down to the triggers here, and then just simply find the spell ID of the debuff or dot that you want to start flashing, and then type it in here, copy and paste it, click add, and it will add to the bottom of this list. Again, I'll use the exact same debuff that I just used a second ago, add that in, and there it is at the bottom. It will now start flashing as this debuff runs out if it was a dot. And then for a question that I quite frequently got during Dragonflight, and I have not found a way to counter this yet and actually make it work. It's something that hopefully we can work on in the future and get figured out. But a lot of you guys have been asking, Vesp, is there a mod or a script, or I want to make it so that when I apply my vampiric touch to a mob, it changes color so that I know exactly what mobs I have my dots on just from their nameplates. One, that's the beauty of my plater profile, is it's going to be very clear and easy to see because there's not going to be many other debuffs on the nameplate. But regardless of that, I can't do that right now because obviously that is just going to completely go against the color coding that I've done for these mobs. If applying Vampiric Touch to the Vanguard here turned his nameplate white to show that you've got Vampiric Touch on him, then you would no longer know that he is a priority target, and that just kind of defeats the purpose of the plater profile in the first place. The way that I'm going to try and combat this and figure it out for the future, and hopefully maybe we can get it updated for season 2, is maybe we can add a border to the actual nameplate border right here that will change in color to show you that you have your dot on that target. So for example, the bar would still stay Warlock purple because it's a priority target, but the border of the nameplate would turn red to show you that you've got your Vampiric Touch on that target. Another frequent question I did get is about the personal resource display. Now, I don't know, now this might be relevant for you guys that use weak aura, so you can just skip ahead from this part. But for those of you that do use the personal resource display, there is one inside of Plater that overrides the WoW default personal resource display, and I don't think it's as nice, so I don't use it. If you do want to use it, just simply tick module enabled here and it will work, and then you can customize it yourself. But if you want to use the WoW default one, then make sure that you have this unticked right here, and then go to the settings, go to combat, and make sure you have personal resource display ticked here. While we're in the settings here, I do just want to highlight that this right here, nameplate motion type, is very important, and it is character specific. That is the very important part. You need this on stacking nameplates for this plater profile to work, or any plater profile to work. Otherwise, they're going to be all overlapping each other, and it's just going to look horrible, and you're not going to be able to actually see anything. So whenever you log into a new character and import the plater profile, also just make a little mental checklist that you also come to the settings interface and make sure this is stacking nameplates. So Vesp, I love what you've done with the color coding, and the groups of the color coding are perfect for me, but I don't like the color and I just want to change that. Here's what you do. Open the plater settings, come to NPC colors and names. It will have all of them listed in color order here. And if I wanted to change every single priority mob that is colored Warlock purple in the game to a different color, all you have to do is find the desired color that you do want to change, click on the drop down box for any single one of these mobs, and when you find your new color, for example, I want to change this Vanguard and every single priority mob in the game to a Death Knight red, hold shift and click this. And then as you see, every single mob that was a priority mob and still is a priority mob has now changed to a Death Knight red from a Warlock purple. So that's how you're going to customize any colors that you want. Again, we can do the same as I scroll down. Vesp, I don't like cyan. I want to change my stop mobs to a different color. Click on the drop down box for any of these, and then shift click onto the desired color that you do want to change it to. So pale violet red. Sticking with the colors then, if you guys don't want my plater profile for whatever reason, I couldn't possibly think of one, but if you did not want my plater profile, but you do just want to import the colors, maybe you've got your own plater profile that you've made and you just want my colors, all you have to do is go into my Discord. I will have this text string, which is basically just a text string of all of the different data that is needed to color code these mobs. This will be inside my Discord. Go inside there, copy it, and then all you need to do is come to import inside the NPC colors and names, copy that straight in there, and then click OK, and that will import all of my colors into your specific plater profile. I did cover this earlier while we were talking about these mods, but just to quickly touch on them again, if you do want to add or remove any of the important kicks or important stops, if you want to add any, just find the spell ID of that particular kick or stop and just paste it into these boxes here and click add. It will add it to the bottom of this list. If you want to remove any, then just simply scroll through here, find the one that you want to remove, and just click the X and it will be gone for good. One thing that I noticed when I first got used to Plater in general, so this was me swapping from default nameplates to Plater, so I think that was why it was such a big jump for me. But I know that some people do struggle with knowing exactly what target they are targeting. My Plater profile by default right now will have this white glow around it, which you will get used to and you will understand which mob you are targeting. But I know that some people will want to go that extra mile just to make certain that they are knowing exactly what mob they are targeting. So to do that, you're going to come to the target tab inside of your Plater options. You're going to come down to the target bracket indicator down here, and then you can just have a play around with here. Double arrows I think looks kind of clean. The reason that I kept it as only white and then hovering over it made it even whiter is just because it keeps with the clean minimalistic theme. So this is just purely preference, so if you want to run with the double arrows, fire away and you're good. And then finally, I hope I haven't forgotten anything, but this is the last thing that we're going to cover for now. If you guys have any other questions, then just feel free to jump in my Discord. But a lot of people do ask what my friendly nameplate settings are. I don't know exactly how nameplates are coded for friendlies because they, for some reason, work differently in different environments like main cities, Mythic Plus, Raid, etc, etc. But we'll go over what my nameplate settings are inside the WoW settings, which looks like this right here. And then down here, if you do want to show friendly player nameplates, then you just simply click on this. There might be a keybind Shift V, you might have changed that. Click that, and this does show the, I think this does look cleaner. It shows the class color of the spec, the text looks nicer than the basic WoW default text. The only issue with this is inside main cities, because of my buff special right here, it can show buffs on the side of their nameplates, which looks very odd. So I just don't use them personally. I have them turned off just like that, but I am turning these off with the WoW default settings. Inside my plater profile, friendly NPCs nameplates are enabled. So this is just relying on the fact that you need to turn it on inside WoW settings, and then you'll be good to go. So I think that is everything covered for my plater profile, and it is finally released. So if you guys do want it, jump in the Discord and find the plater channel in there. That'll take you to the Wago site, and then you can just simply import it. And if you guys do have any further questions that maybe I didn't cover in this video, or maybe you have some suggestions for the plater profile, then we have dedicated channels inside the Discord for you guys to do that. And we honestly have a lovely community in there that will be more than willing to help you guys with any questions you have. And more importantly, your guys' feedback, questions, and suggestions mean that we can just constantly continue to improve this plater profile going forward and updating it for every single season. I mean, that's exactly what we've done coming into the War Within, and I'd like to think that my plater profile is better than it's ever been. Like I've mentioned, this plater profile is completely free, so if you guys are interested in checking it out, then it would really mean the world to me if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way that you don't miss out on updates on the plater profile in the future. And if you're in the Discord, the updates will also always go live inside there. If you guys did like this video, then please feel free to drop a like down below. Ask any questions you need to down in the comments below as well. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.